Hi, I'm Andy Cuccia, part of the Yamamoto Pro staff. I've been with Yamamoto for quite a few years, and we're going to talk about a couple baits today. We've got the Yamamoto Big Bass Open coming here on the California Delta, and I'm going to show you a couple of baits that I think that if you stick with and fish them all day long, you have a great opportunity to be able to get into those top 5 check spots every hour, as well as be able to get possibly that big fish and win up to as much as $10,000. The first bait is the Yamamoto Senko. It's a bait that Gary designed to fish in shallow water. It probably works best here on the Delta when these fish are up spawning. It's not something that they're looking at to eat. It's something that is intimidating them in the bedroom. And you put this bait in their bedroom, and one of those 2 fish in and around that bed are going to take it off. There's 2 sizes that I use here on the Delta. First one is the 6-inch. This is probably the most common of the 2 baits. The 2 sizes, guys on the lakes like to use the 5-inch bait, but here on the Delta, that 6-inch bait is extremely effective. A lot of guys like to fish some wacky rig, and I think that stems from when they come to this river, when they're fishing outside of the Delta, they use that wacky rig on the lakes a lot, especially in open water. You can catch fish on here on the Delta with that wacky rig. It's very effective. When the fish are up shallow and they're protecting beds, it's probably the best time to be using that wacky rig, because the way the bait falls, I don't think it really matters whether you're throwing it wacky or Texas rig, because they're hitting it out of pure reaction. But when you've got to finesse fish them, I think it's a more natural and, well, the word I'm looking for is intimidating when it's coming through the bedroom straight versus sideways. It looks a lot more natural, and they tend to be much more aggressive on a bait that's crawling straight at them. Hence why I like to use the Senko fished as a Texas rig. It's also easier when you're pitching up into sparse tules. When that hook is fixed in their Texas rig and straight, you can pitch it up into the tules a lot easier. Whereas if you've got that wacky rig in the middle, trying to pitch, a 7-inch bait into a 2-inch open can sometimes be kind of difficult. You're going to catch tules and you're going to get hung up, you're going to get overspins, you're going to get frustrated, you're going to waste fishing time. So I typically will always fish this thing on the river as a Texas rig. I use a 4 or 5/0 straight round bed worm hook. I'm one of those ones that, being a jig fisherman, I set the hook. There's no lack it off no matter what bait I'm fishing. And one of the things I've noticed with wacky rigs is you tend to not have to set as hard. But I can't train myself day in and day out to do that on every bite I get with a wacky rig. When I'm fishing this hook on that Texas rig, I can do that. If I want to set and yank them out of them tules and get them out coming now towards the boat, I can do that with this hook. It's also a nice straight hook versus a wide gap hook that creates kind of a rudder effect. It fits real well with the long slender baits, and basically to rig it is very simple. You just slide the hook point right down to the bend in the center of the bait, pop it through, and then pull the hook all the way down in past the bend to where your knot in the eye is in the center of the bait. And that way you can see that it's ready to be prepared to insert into the bait. Some guys like to skin hook them, some guys like to Texpose them. I like to actually take that bait and bend it up. As you'll notice, when it's sitting there, you can see exactly where your point of entry needs to be, where you want that bend to come in. So I'll just bend the worm down to the hook point, bury it right in the middle of the bait, and then that bait's nice and straight. And the beauty of that Senko is that it's so soft, you don't need to have it Texpose. When they grab it and depress it, they're going to get hooked. They will grab this bait from the side, and it's amazing how they can determine which end is the head versus the tail. They tend to always go towards the end of the bait that's being pulled forward away from them in the direction of your line. Whereas on a wacky rig, sometimes they may come over here and hit the front part of the bait and miss your hook. You're going to pull and set, and there's not going to be anything there. This way, they're going to get that hook in their mouth virtually every time they grab for it. The other thing is that the round bend hooks, they're not going to go down in their throat and turn like a wide gap and get stuck in the throat, so you're not going to throat hook so many fish. It's going to pull straight out of their throat and go right in and catch them right on the outer lip and that strong portion and in the nose, and that's where you want to catch those Senko fish. So that's a bait right there. This bait put a lot of money in quite a few anglers' pockets in that last year's big bass tournament here in the Delta, and it will once again prove to be a money maker this year. You should be fishing it.